you're standing in line, please go ahead. Again, my name is Dawn Chang. I'm going to help to facilitate tonight's meeting. I really want to thank all of you for being here. Obviously, this is a really important meeting. I apologize, we originally had us at Keaukaha Elementary School, and because of the anticipated attendance, we moved to the gym. So mahalo for all of you being here. Before we start, I have Ilau, who would like to welcome the panel on behalf of the Keaukaha community. Mahalo. I also have Uncle Sam.
Hello, Kako. My name is Sam Kalaleki, and I want to welcome Kupunas and all Kanaka Maoli who's present. Brothers and sisters, I stand before you to make a special request. This is very, very important for the entire nation. Very important that we show our dignity and not be unruly. As I was sitting down outside, I see the makai all their uniform and all these guys, they're walking around, this is no good. That's a bad image. That's a bad image. So we, as Napo'eo Nakanaka, we gotta prove and show the world who we are. So I beg and I plead with you, brothers and sisters, that we send this delegation home with a good taste in their mouth. We all know this is the wrong entity to be here, but the right one will be here shortly. Bear in mind, when this goes to Washington, they'll realize who should come here and talk to us. I thank you very much.
Mahalo, Uncle Sam. Again, thank you all for being here. I realize the time of the day, and obviously this is very important. I am extremely humbled and honored to facilitate this very important conversation amongst the Hawaiian community. If there are other kupuna, there's some chairs in the front here, please come up. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide the community an opportunity to share your mana'o or comments on whether the Secretary of Interior should propose an administrative rule that would facilitate the reestablishment of a government-to-government relationship with the Native Hawaiian community. No decision will be made. This is an open and public meeting, one of 15. I believe we have completed 9, and we've got 3 on Hawaii Island and 3 on Maui thereafter. So obviously, they want to hear the entire state. While I know this is a historic opportunity for all of us to be at the table here to share our mana'o, I also know that this is a matter filled with great emotion, anger, pain. I will tell you, I feel it. I'm right here, I feel it. I have to go home every night and I swim just to cleanse and to be my ka'i again. I need to be strong. So please understand, the panel and all of us feel how important this is. However, my role in this process is going to make sure that it's fair. Everybody who wants to speak is given an opportunity to speak. That the process is safe. That you feel comfortable to come up here and speak. And that I would ask, as Uncle Sam said, that the meeting is conducted in a respectful and a courteous way. That when you come up to the mic or when you're in the audience, that we treat the person who is speaking the same way that we would want to be treated when we're speaking. And I know that this community is full of great respect and honor. So I mahalo you for that. As I said, I know this is full of emotions and anger, and we've gone through 9 meetings. We've heard a lot of things. I would ask you to avoid the swearing and the personal attacks, as all of us feel we're all affected by the words. So I would ask you to, just to be respectful, to understand that they are here really to listen. I'm going to give you an overview of what to expect tonight. There's going to be a brief presentation. We have been, I would tell you, by meeting 15, we're going to be ready to do 15 more meetings because we're going to get this full down pat. But what we've been hearing is there's a lot more people who want to make a comment. So the panel, they're going to keep their comments rather short so that what we really hear are your comments. After that, we're going to go right into the public comments. And if time permits, we'll have questions, but we're going to try to get everybody's comments. Meeting logistics. Bathrooms are outside. Emergency exits, you see them. There is food outside, so please feel free to go outside and eat, but please don't come inside and eat. But we'll be here as long as we'll be here to 9. And that's another thing, what we've been doing to be consistent, because many of the places we have had to leave by 9:30. So I do apologize in advance, but we are going to be piled by 9. Okay. So with that, I want to introduce the federal panel that's here tonight. We have Rhea Sa. She is the Assistant Secretary for Policy, Management, and Budget with the U.S. Department of Interior. Esther Keawe, Senior Advisor to the Secretary, U.S. Department of Interior. I have Justin Smith, the Assistant Section Chief of Law and Policy with the Environment and Natural Resources Division, U.S. Department of Justice. And at the far end, we have Jennifer Romero, who is a Senior Advisor to the Secretary with the U.S. Department of Interior. Please welcome them. With that, Rhea's going to have a few comments.
Thank you, Don. Aloha. First, on behalf of Don and my colleagues, let us all thank you for allowing us to come into your community, and thank you all for being willing to show up to these meetings and share your thoughts and opinions and perspectives. As many of you know, reading the newspapers or seeing this broadcast live, we are about halfway through a process of community meetings on all of the islands to discuss very important questions. I think it's important to recognize that this is historic. And regardless of whatever your opinions may be on the substance of the issue, the opportunity for us to come before you and ask you your opinions is an historic opportunity. The federal government has not had meetings like this in over a decade. So we are honored to have this opportunity to hear from you tonight. And because we want to hear from all of you, we are truncating our panel presentation today because, as you can see, it is an overflowing crowd, and we want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to speak today. I want to say a few things about the Department of Interior to give some of you some context that may be helpful. The Department of the Interior is a large federal agency under the jurisdiction of the United States. We have lots of different responsibilities, but of all the responsibilities that we have, that is the most profound, the most important, it is our responsibility to Native communities throughout the United States. The Department of Interior, specifically through the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, has responsibility for oversight of that act and works with the state agency in that oversight responsibility. So we do have 90 years of concrete experience of working on these issues. And we have been charged by Congress to work on these issues. So within the bounds of federal law, we are asking a number of questions. But let me be clear here, because this is the ninth meeting that we have had in all the different islands. And we are listening to what you are saying. We are listening to what you are saying. And we heard it with the introduction today. We're hearing it loud and clear. But let me be clear with you that when we don't respond, or when you're frustrated about our lack of ability to discuss international issues, it is because we do not have that purview for the United States government. Our purview is domestic. And I understand that's frustrating to many of you who are here. And I am sorry for that. But within the purview that we do have, within the responsibilities that have been entrusted in us by Congress, we are providing an opportunity for you to provide input on a series of questions. And of all the questions that we have in the materials that you've gotten, or you've seen online, or you've heard about, the most important question that I think you should focus on, the crux of what all of this boils down to, is a single question that is, do you want the federal government to establish a process that would enable a Native Hawaiian government to be recognized by the U.S. federal government? Do you want us to establish a process? And again, many of you have come today to state your opinion on that question. Some of you have come today to learn more. And we're welcoming all of your opinions. We're welcoming all of your perspectives. But what's important to note about this question is that all other Native communities in the United States have this option. And many of them have exercised this option. The only Native community within the United States that doesn't even have the option is the Native Hawaiian community. And so what we are asking fundamentally again is, do you want this option? Again, you may not want the option. Or maybe you do want the option, but you don't exercise the option. But again, just let me underscore, this option doesn't even exist for you. So that's why we're here today. That's why we're interested in hearing from you. And I know, and the other thing that I'll just point out, I know this process is confusing. I know this process may seem quite rushed. I know we did a press release, we published the advance notice of rulemaking, and then we came out to the islands shortly thereafter. But let me tell you, the public comment period for this is open for 60 days. And if you showed up tonight to register your opinion, we welcome that. But if you showed up tonight to learn more, or if you showed up tonight and you have a bunch of testimony that you're not going to be able to do in the 2 minutes that is provided, we are providing you all sorts of opportunities to register your voice and to make your voice heard all the way through August 19th. Right? You can write us, you can email us. We are interested in all of your voices, all of your opinions. So while the process may seem quite intimidating, I really encourage you, again, thank you for coming to these venues and for being willing to listen. I encourage you to continue the conversations with your neighbors, with your families, with your colleagues. It's obviously a really important issue. We get how important it is. We're honored to be here. Thank you to, I believe, the Crabs who brought in these amazing pictures of your royalty, of your legacy. We are honored to be here, and we are honored to hear from all of you tonight. So with that, let me turn it back over to Don, and thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rhea. So with that, we're going to go right into public comments, but as I've done in all the other meetings, just some really brief protocols, and I'm not intending to offend anyone, and I will apologize in advance. We have a court reporter here who can only take one person at a time speaking, so when your name is called up, please come up to the mic. If you could state your name so that she accurately records your statement. And again, I apologize if I don't state your name correctly. When you come up to the mic, as I said, please state your name. If you want to provide your comment in Hawaiian, please feel free to do so. I am sorry that we do not have a translator tonight, but if you would like your testimony translated, we will take the audio and get a translation. But please feel free to make your testimony in Hawaiian if that's how you feel comfortable. If you're feeling uncomfortable orally giving your testimony here, as Rhea said, there are numerous ways for you to submit your comment. You can do it in writing. There are comment forms in the back of the room when you signed up. You can email it, you can fax it, you can mail it. They want to hear what you have to say. So the comment period is open until August. If there are any kupuna who would like to come up and make their comment now, please feel free to do so. Yes, please.
You want to sit? I can give you the mic. Oh, you need some? Thank you. You want me to hold it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Woo! Heavy the book. Get Queen Liliuokalani's land inside here. Anyway, aloha.
Oh, here's a mic right there. If you can state your name too.
My name is Samson Lehualani Brown. I'm a native Hawaiian as defined in the Hawaiian Home Commission Act 1920, President of Aopunio, Hawaii, and a successor to the Kingdom of Hawaii, as defined in Article 1 of the Treaty of Friendship, Commerce, and Navigation between the United States of America and the Kingdom of Hawaii, dated August 24, 1850. That's the welcome to the Kingdom of Hawaii. Okay. As of these 5 questions by the Secretary of Interior, I will answer it after I question both of you in the coming, this case, civil number 12-10484, reinstate and recovery of assets of the Kingdom of Hawaii as held in trust by the United States of America. Filed February 3rd, 2014. Cindy, give them a copy. This is my daughter. She's my secretary. This is the case that was filed in the Kingdom of Hawaii in the Third Circuit Court. Now, that on the first page, it tells you who is the defendants, or rather defendants, and you, the defendant. Anyway, I am here to ask you this. As my sovereign, and Exhibit B, Treaty of 1850, no, that was, Exhibit D, Treaty of 1850, and Exhibit B, the Hawaiian Home Commission Act, 1920, and Exhibit E, an Act, 1959, a statehood act. So it says, but isn't that a trust? Both trusts, both acts, isn't that a trust held by the United States of America?
Sir, Uncle, they're not taking any questions.
Hmm?
They're not taking any questions.
Okay.
Just your comment. And you can summarize.
Okay. Well, this is a trust anyway, which you are in are holding, and as of this motion that I filed, which I believe the Department of Justice Department answered me, and he didn't show up at the court hearing in the Kingdom of Hawaii. He didn't show up. That will be default for the kingdom, in favor of the Kingdom of Hawaii. That's how Liliuokalani will get her lands back. Thank you.
Do I have any other Kupuna who would like to come up?
Hello, my name is keawe. I'm concerned Hawaii, they have to waste my trip because you people gotta know what the core master plan is for Hawaii. You know, because Washington, they don't even know our culture, what it represents. You gotta understand, Manikia is the temple of Kani and his 3 sons that connect us to the whole world, the 4 pillars of the world. Okay, I'm gonna show you this. Listen, you guys gotta understand, when I go and put us here isolated from the whole world, in the middle of nowhere with some culture called aloha, of the product of the aloha. And my thing is to build out the aloha. This is why you have to learn Kane and his 3 sons, because his 3 sons will connect us to the 4 corners of the world. Ku went to Europe. What do you think of Europe? What do you see of Europe? Physical. Wow. That's what Ku represents in the West. Lolo is the poor, intellectual, Buddha, nice intellectual teaching, discipline, obedience. As in the East, no. In the South is kind of law, the living spirit over the land and water. Now this tree is the element of a kuakane. Just like the human being. What makes you what you are? Mental, physical, and spiritual. One without the other, you ain't together. We gotta get focused. This is important. You're in a cool house, Kani. out. And I get plenty in here to release no one do it. Because you guys all blind and need to know what's going on. So Lord, give me side, brother. Let me speak my heart to give you understanding for the poor. You can see me where I'm coming from a minute. We all gotta connect these. Mr. Malcolm gotta know they are representing cool. The Japanese, the easy. No. Poor. We're the living spirit of the land and water. Our country is number one. Ako, kane, number two. Naya, then nakalaka. Check us guys in more than what you're doing now. Because we are the guys to pull up together.
Thank you, Uncle.
DOI Keaukaha. My name is Keawe Akaka. A handful of us started the Hawaiian Movement for Justice 44 years ago on Oahu at a place called Kalama Valley. That was the beginning of Hawaiians and local people looking around at the situation in our islands and beginning to question the direction Hawaii was going in, and as to whether or not it was really in the best interest of we, the Kanaka Maoli, the first people of this land, the people who got their country stolen. We also, Labor Day 78, we closed the Hilo Airport runway because we were the landlords come to collect the rent. You of the Department of Interior did not collect rent for this airport. Waimea, Molokai, and Hilo Airport. We had to risk our lives on the Hilo Airport runway. 58 of us were arrested. We had 3 children with us. We kept the children behind because number one, we had to protect them. $500,000 a year started coming into the Department of Hawaiian Homelands because we were at the Hilo Airport runway. That was your job, Department of Interior, to collect that rent. I've been an advocate for our land and the people for all of these years. I was also a trustee for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs for 12 years. Secretary of State Kerry, in reference to what Russia did to the Ukraine in Crimea, said, "It's a land grab." Obama referred to it as Russia attacking a defenseless country. Now, what do you think happened to us? Same thing. No to all the questions. First, we need an answer to Kamehameha Pono's question to the Secretary of State Kerry before we go any further. We in Hawaii don't want to be the dumping ground for the Pacific, for America's military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned us about. Over 100,000 acres of our ceded lands at Pohakaloa are programmed to be the premier military training facility of the Pacific, destroying our historical, cultural sites and our environment. We want you out of here when that lease is up and you have to clean up your military garbage on your way out. The lease from 1965 was for only $1, period. That is disgusting. And not only that, but on his way out, Colonel Sweeto over at Pohakaloa 2 weeks ago said to the incoming commander, when you want to do something and you know it's the right thing to do, drive it like you stole it, he said. Don't let anyone tell you no. How do you like that? Yes, you not only stole Pohakaloa, but all of our islands. But look at the audacity of this commander. Drive it like you stole it, when you really did steal it. I will admit it. We want an independent study on depleted uranium done at Pohakaloa, called for by our county council in 2008. And what they said was that there should be no live fire training. until an independent study of depleted uranium is done. Your depleted uranium is showing up in people's urine with 3 or 4 medical doctors here in Hilo. You have been poor stewards of our people, of our land and our people, America. We are not an Indian tribe, though we have much respect for our brothers and sisters in Indian country. What happened to the billions of dollars you were supposed to be holding in trust for decades for those native tribes? Your record in treatment of native peoples is deplorable. We, the people of Aloha, deserve better. Enough is enough. Mahalo.
Aloha. Before I say anything, I would like to call upon Kaliko Kanaile, the Rolora Kakaolelo, to give their statement before I do. Mahalo. Aloha kako. I have a statement to read in behalf of the Royal Order of Kamehameha. Greetings and aloha. The Royal Order of Kamehameha I was established on April 11, 1865 by King Kamehameha V, Lot Kapuaiwa, to honor the legacy of his grandfather, Kamehameha the Great. Our purpose is to preserve and perpetuate the ancient chiefly customs and traditions of Hawaii and continue to work of our beloved kingdom set forth by our founder. The Royal Order of Kamehameha I, in continuity of our founder, proclaimed once again in 1995 at Mauna Ala, Oahu, that the Kingdom of Hawaii still exists based on factual events that took place in 1893 to present time. We would like to share with you the following. The Kingdom of Hawaii still exists. We preserve and perpetuate the ancient chiefly customs and traditions of Hawaii. We firmly recognize the Ku'e petition. We will not support legislation that will divide our native people. We will always uphold the truth of what happened to our nation and ensure that no further harm will fall upon our kingdom. The Royal Order of Kamehameha I wants to be instrumentally involved with any proposed process that will have any effect, good or bad, to the 5 values just mentioned. It is extremely important that you hear our voice and understand that we have many chapters located on other islands. Because of our order's protocols, we will not be answering any question at this time, as we want to discuss this further with all of our members and agree on the role we want to take for the best interests of our kingdom. Aloha.
Mahalo.
Aloha. My name is Kimo Keili Polanicola.
And this land I'm talking about is Hutchinson Sugar made the sugar company in Ka'u. They leased the land from my family until today has never returned or paid for any use. I am saying my family, Hekikia, Solomon, Ho'olapa, Kahana Hekikia, and Kawiki Auoli is the same person. I invite any of you to challenge my genealogy, of which everyone here in this room is of my ohana. In regards to the land and this government thing you are talking, I believe my family do not need you to tell us how to make a government. This government issue is a premature event. before you can go making a government, you should realize who owns the land. My family still owns this land. And I believe if you wanted to help us and be truthful, you would come forward and make sure and help us to reorganize by the way it should be. Okay, I see the word power. Okay? Well, if you are serious about taking care of your problem, you should talk to the immediate family. I'm waiting. Thank you.
After Uncle, I have the first 5 names are, after Uncle is Kalegumapet, Nancy Monroe, Francis, Isaac Harp, and Millie Lunny Trask.
Aloha, my kapunas, my ohana. You know, we've been waiting a long time. We've all been waiting. We've been waiting for God. He's here with us, among us. Truth will come from the people of what took place on this land, on our birth, on our motherland called Hawaii, the birth of life. Each island has its own name and what it stands for. We are the people Kealoha. We are the evidence. We are not the crime that taking place here, that took place from before and continue going on. I'm still homeless now, on the house. We all are. Right now I stay in the court again. They just send me another love letter. The same case that they will remove me from the land October the 25th, 2012, coming up 2 years. I just want to get this love letter yesterday from them. Same land, same issue. The land is Keawe's land. Keawe was never conquered. Okay? Hawaii is the birthplace for all living people. Now we got the military here. We don't need the military. This is a peaceful country. What are these 24, 25 countries doing over here? Bombing our land. They were in bomb Koala and now they're over here. We need help from all our kapunas, from all the people to stand up. It's time to stand up. See this shirt over here? The rising nation, that's us. Mahalo.
My name is Kalegumapet, and I'm representing my ohana from Keaukaha as well as DOI Manalo. And I'm also representing the Kanaka Council, moku o keawe. What you have in your hands are documents. The first document that you should have is a document that is a legal brief that was prepared by Dr. Keanu Sai, who is a PhD in sociology, and he's one of our foremost leaders in the international community. It's his legal brief. The second document that you have is the protest and demand that was filed by with the United Nations in 2012 of August. And this protest and demand was filed and accepted by the President of the UN General Assembly. By doing that, what happened is that they're recognizing the continuance of the Hawaiian Kingdom in the UN. This protest and demand that you have is a protest and demand of 173 countries that have existing treaties with the Hawaiian Kingdom, including the United States.
we don't need the Department of Interior here, you panel. What we need is where is John Kerry and where is U.S. Pacific Commander Admiral Locklear? You should not be here. You cannot address these questions that we've raised. It's not your kuleana. So get the people whose kuleana it is here to answer all of our questions. Also, the questions that you raised for everybody to answer, it's a trap. But I'm going to answer it anyway. Aole. No to everything that you guys are wanting and everything that you guys are wanting to do. Because we can do it ourselves. We have our own government. We have the Queen Liliuokalani, and the Constitution of the Hawaiian Kingdom continues to exist. You need to learn that Constitution so that you can know when to ask permission to come into the Kingdom of Hawaii. You did not ask that permission. And I don't know who invited you in, but they did the wrong thing. I have more documents. I also have the documents that was filed with the International Criminal Courts on war crimes by our attorney, Dexter Kayama. And there's also a document by Officer Leland Pop, who spoke with a JAG officer from the U.S. Pacific Command, who admitted that there is no treaty of annexation, and they continue to do illegal acts. You need to read that document. It is an affidavit. And in addition to that, I was going to read this. This is from Dr. Sai's blog, Why the Hawaiian Kingdom, as an independent state, continues to exist. I provided that copy to you. You need to read it. But most importantly, take it back to John Kerry and get John Kerry here, not you.
I have Nancy, Francis, Isaac Harp, and Millie Loving-Trent. Francis, come on out.
I'm right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. All right. Aloha kako. I'm privileged to be here and to be standing before you. I have, I hope, a 2-minute statement. First of all, I came to Hawaii in 1976 to UH Hilo for college from Oregon. 79, I got hired at the phone company, so I've stayed. I love it here. This is my home. I sincerely want to thank the panel, Department of Interior, for being here, for what you have accomplished by your presence here, and I'll tell you why at the end of my 2 minutes. First, I want to ask you all a yes or no question. Are you aware that there was never a lawful treaty of annexation conveying the Hawaiian Kingdom to the United States? All right, no response. Okay, that's all right. This was not common knowledge until recently, and I learned this irrefutable fact just over 4 years ago, and it's changed my life. 4 days from now, July 6th, will be the 170th anniversary of the recognition of the Hawaiian Kingdom's independence and sovereignty by the United States in 1844. The United States violated this treaty on January 17, 1893. And the U.S. State Department issued a publication on foreign affairs in Hawaii in 1899, which was sent to 45 other countries with treaties with the Hawaiian Kingdom, stating that Hawaii had been annexed to the United States by a treaty of annexation in 1898, and that was a lie. Due to the irrefutable fact that no treaty exists to convey Hawaii to the United States, any U.S. laws imposed in the Hawaiian Kingdom since January 17, 1893 are unlawful and a violation of not only the original Treaty of 1844, but also the Neutrality Proclamation signed by keawe, Kamehameha III, on May 16, 1854, violation of the Geneva Convention 4, Hague Convention 5, U.S. own Constitution under U.S. Code Title 18, Section 2441. Every law imposed by the United States and Hawaii is a war crime under international law. Every day, in every courtroom, every judge who renders a decision using U.S. law commits a war crime. Who in the Hawaiian community asked you to come here? The presence is a violation of international law, whereby governments have the obligation and duty not to intervene in the internal affairs of another independent sovereign state. Okay, I'm going to skip the next couple paragraphs and conclude. As I said, I'm so appreciative of your presence here, and here's why. There have been a lot of attempts to restore independence of the Hawaiian Kingdom the past 30 or 40 years, and a lot of different groups are paddling their own canoe, trying to get to the same place, but going off in different directions. You have brought together more people who are ready to paddle the same canoe. If you are offended by some of the language or attitudes of some of the testimony of the past few days, be thankful that at least it's mostly peaceful. Nobody is taking up arms and no bloodshed has occurred, but your presence here has done something else wonderful. This revolution is picking up steam. The truth will prevail, and my allegiance is to the Hawaiian Kingdom. Show us the treaty or go home.
Lawrence Kalani, we're number 7, and Herbert Poipoi, number 7.
Aloha, my name is Francis Moku Malane Jr. I am Hawaiian by birth. Answer to the 5 questions: no, aole, no, aole, no. Listed are the items you need to fix. 1, the validity of President Obama, born in a foreign country, Hawaiian Kingdom. Big problem. 2, no treaty with the United States after the overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom. 3, Hawaiian Kingdom is in recess due to the occupation of the United States. 4, United States has no jurisdiction outside 12 miles of their shoreline. 5, Hawaiian Kingdom, as stated, has multiple valid treaties with other countries. Go do the research. 6, annexation of Hawaii by the United States, invalid. Big lie. 7, we have laws, Hawaiian Kingdom, that needs to be followed by the occupying country. 8, executive to executive. 9, Japan, Germany, and Italy were giving back their governments after World War II. They were at war. 10, Kingdom of Hawaii was never at war with the United States. Therefore, illegal occupation. 11, Kingdom of Hawaii was never a tribe. We are a sovereign nation. And 12, the United States have treated this nation, kupuna, ali'i, ku'aina, with total disrespect. Aloha.
Isaac Hart. I said after Isaac, Mimi Money, Lawrence, Herbert Poipoi, and Hanalei Ferguson.
Aloha kākou. I declare Kia, also known as Paka, patriot of the Hawaiian Kingdom. I would like to ask that you please view my comments through the lens of reconciliation. I will include recommendations to stop the bleeding, promote healing, and aid the recovery of a nation brutalized by the United States for over a century. Question 1, no, a Native Hawaiian government never existed. You cannot reorganize or reestablish something that never was. I recommend an administrative rule to facilitate federal support for agencies and organizations that provide services to Kanaka Maoli and non-Maoli whose ancestors were citizens of the Hawaiian Kingdom. This is about a nation, not a race. Eliminate racism and you eliminate racial discrimination lawsuits. Question 2, no. I recommend an administrative rule to establish a reconciliation trust fund to support reorganization of the Hawaiian Kingdom government and recovery from injuries resulting from the prolonged occupation. Hawaiian Kingdom subjects, in consultation with the U.S. Departments of State, Justice, and Interior, should develop a mechanism to access trust funds. I recommend the U.S. President issue an executive order to allocate 1% of the Department of Defense annual base budget for deposit into the trust fund each year. Annual deposit should equal the number of years of U.S. occupation of the Hawaiian Kingdom. Consider this as partial reparations. Question 3, none. The governing documents of the Hawaiian Kingdom may only involve Hawaiian Kingdom subjects regardless of race who pledge their allegiance to the Hawaiian Kingdom. Question 4, no. I recommend terminating the unlawful state of Hawaii, application of Hawaiian Kingdom laws as dictated by international law, and development of a governance transition plan in consultation with law professors Williamson Chang, Keanu Sai, and Francis Boyle. Question 5, none. The Hawaiian Kingdom government may consider reestablishing treaty relations with the United States in the future. Much depends on how reconciliation between our nations unfolds. Wise words of a very dear Hoaloha Henry Papakihe Solinihio to the Native Hawaiian and non-Native Hawaiian nationals. Ku'e! Ku'e! Ku'e Maoloa! Mahalo.
Mahalo. Mililani, Lawrence, Herbert, Hanale, and Haley Kauhane.
Aloha, I'm Mililani Trask. I live here on the Big Island in Ola'a. I am a United Nations named human rights defender and also an expert in indigenous human rights to the United Nations Permanent Forum in New York. I served as the first 8-year term as Kia'aina of Kala'ahui, Hawaii, and I'm here to present the testimony on behalf of Kala'ahui. Kala'ahui is an indigenous initiative for self-determination and self-governance. It's 27 years old. We wrote our first constitution in Maliapuko'okalani Church, Catholic Church 1 block from here. Our home is in Keaukaha. If you take a look at the documents that we've appended to our testimony, and there are 2, what you're going to be looking at are documents that we took to the Hawaiian community in a series of 138 statewide workshops, supported in part by private grant funds and paid for also and supported and endorsed by the ANA. They wanted to ensure that our educational materials were accurate. They are to this day accurate, and they are certainly much better than what is being proposed by the Hawaiian Civic Clubs and Robin Danner. In 27 years, we have interfaced with the U.S. Congress, the Department of State and Interior on many congressional initiatives. We helped write the Hawaiian legislation on education and health. We drafted sections of the apology bill, which is why I know that there's a statement in there saying that when the U.S. overthrew us, they violated our right to self-determination and international law. I wrote that language when that bill was drafted by Senator Akaka. When you take a look at the documents that we have appended to our testimony, you will see a real-life example of Hawaiians expressing self-determination. We're perfectly capable of writing a constitution. We're perfectly capable of having elections. We did this ourselves for many years with the help of the League of Women Voters. But what we are not capable of doing is governing ourselves and exercising jurisdiction over our lands, territories, and resources. And we have been denied that human right since the time of statehood, when the federal government and the state agreed to impose upon our peoples the yoke of perpetual wardship. This yoke we break. We cannot accept it any further. Our responses, they call her my sister. And I just want to thank Dawn for facilitating this, because she is a good Hawaiian sister to help us on this. It is better to have this than to have anger and possibly anger being expressed in other ways. Our response to the interrogatories that are posed by Interior are all no. And the reason why is because we are capable of being self-governing, but we are not capable of expressing our right to self-determination because federal policy limits this. We are not Indians. We will never be Indians, and the federal Indian policy is inappropriate for our peoples. We are asking that the Department of Interior facilitate and acquiesce to consultations We have already advanced this in behalf of Kai'ulupono'i at the Capitol. We are the second one to request now that consultations be undertaken with our peoples. In closing, let me say this. I think every Hawaiian would like to see a nation-to-nation relationship. But it can only happen when both nations are given a seat at the table. What you propose here is that the nation that overthrew our peoples and apologized for it without making reparations, that nation would sit at the table and somehow fashion a procedure, hoping that in the future, another true nation would emerge. That will never happen. You can braid my hair and stick feathers in it, but I would never be an Indian. I will always be a Hawaiian. Aloha.
Next we have Lawrence, Herbert Poi Poi, Hanale, Kealiki, and Ku'ulani.
Before we start, my name is Lawrence Kalani, and I'm not here for cry, and not here for ground war and shout and scream, but we're gonna do what we do, or we're gonna try to sing one song to express how we feel. I would like everybody to know I'm taking a stand, but right now we're gonna sit down. Okay, Ron. Wait, give me about 10 seconds, then you can press a button over there. This is a song I wrote about 20 years ago, and it's about sovereignty, and it's called Okanaka Mauli.
Pu'ulani Muse, Leilani Lindsay Kaopuni, Samson Brown, and Sam Kaleleki. Okay. Herbert, go ahead, please state your name.
I'm Herbert Poi Poi. I live here on the Big Island, and I'd like to, answer all your questions with a no. In your federal registry, you ask to be, or you say to be specific. I don't know how much more specific I can be. You also ask to give reasons behind this. Well, my reason is, how can we trust you? You acknowledge in the apology bill that Hawaii was annexed by joint resolution. Doesn't apply to us, does it? How can we trust someone or a government whose recently President George Bush should be brought up on war crimes? We're supposed to trust you? The process I would like to see is one of deoccupation. Deoccupy our country and let us choose our own way. We don't need your help. Maybe we don't even want your help. But allow us to be that. Thank you.
Aloha mai. I'm Hanalei Ferguson. I'm the spokesperson for Nakupuna Moku Keawe, which is a gathering of elders from all 6 districts of the Big Island. Oh, okay. So in answer to all 5 of your threshold questions, the obvious answer is no. And I'm going to give you some very clear reasons why, and they're basically Supreme Court decisions. I want to bring your attention to the 1903 Mankichi versus Territory of Hawaii, where it was in the opinions of the Supreme Court justices that the introduction of the Organic Act violated the very rights of the Hawaiian nationals that the Constitution of the United States was supposed to protect, such as private property rights and the civil rights afforded by the Hawaiian Kingdom and the Hawaiian Kingdom laws. I'd also like to point out that in 1913, under the Sandoval versus United States court case, it was a case having to do with recognition of the Pueblo Indians, that the court decisions reflected that Congress cannot gather a group of people under a special relationship and arbitrarily call them Indians. I'd also like to say that in 1920, 7 years later, that the Hawaiian Commissions Act did just that, formed a special relationship. I'd also like to point out in the 1974 Morton versus Mancari case that Congress made it very clear that Congress's unique obligation is not to the individuals or group of individuals descended prior to Western influence, and that blood quantum cannot be a basis or qualifying factor for any legislation. I'd also like to point out to you that the United States Civil Rights Commission already reported on this issue of tribal status in the United States and has been opposed to it. And it's something that you already know about. So why you keep doing this to us is beyond me. Thank you.
Mahalo, Hanalei. Kealii, Pu'ulani, and Leilani.
Aloha. I am Heali'i Kauhani. My ancestors are Hawaiian, English, Scottish, and German. All of my European ancestors came to Hawaii. They took oaths of allegiance to the Kingdom of Hawaii as per the civil code of the kingdom and became, for all intents and purposes, natives of the Kingdom of Hawaii. We were and continue to be Hawaiian nationals. In answer to the first question, since the United States committed an act of war against a peaceful and friendly nation 121 years ago, the Secretary should propose to deoccupy Hawaii. He should no longer be the Secretary of the Interior. He should be the Secretary of the Exterior. Go away. The Secretary of the Exterior should assist in the process of deoccupation and recognize that the U.S. has and continues to break its own laws, its own constitutional laws, it's the international laws and kingdom laws as well. And 3, the Secretary of the Exterior should rely on the law and the conditions that support those laws rather than make up a whole bunch of new stuff. We are not only Native, we are nationals, Hawaiian nationals. We are Maoli. The Secretary is not. 100 years, over 100 years of occupation, unlawful occupation. Go away. Thank you.
Ku'ulani. After Ku'ulani, I have Leilani Sampson Brown, and then Uncle Sam.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Ku'ulani Muse, and I'm here to answer the 5 questions that were posed, and my answer to all 5 questions is no. I am opposed to the proposed rule change. I am opposed to federal recognition. I am opposed to the illegal U.S. occupation of Hawaii. I wanted to come here tonight so that my opposition would be added to the historical record of these meetings so that my keiki and my descendants will always be clear about how I felt about this process in your government, which I feel is very much in line with the majority, the vast majority of testimony we've heard over the past week and a half. So they can look back in much the same way you look back to the keawe petitions of our kupuna who opposed annexation of Hawaii to the United States. I am frustrated by this process. I feel that it is disingenuous. I feel we haven't had ample time to have discussions and to be informed in order to know how to best move forward. Furthermore, I feel that if just by answering your questions, we are inadvertently perpetuating this narrative of legal fiction, which it truly is, in the context of the continued inherent sovereignty of the Hawaiian Kingdom. I am encouraged by these meetings because they have served to rally us even more. We are more unified in thought and in mission. So I would just like to add my no to the big resounding no we've heard throughout Hawaii that you take back to your government. And to our poe aloha aina, I would like to reiterate the words of James Kaulia, mai maka'u, e kupa'a ma ke aloha o ka aina, a e lokahi I ka mana'o, a e ku e loa aku I ka ho'opui ia o Hawaii me Amelika a hiki I ke aloha aina hope loa. Let us continue to come together, continue to have these conversations, and continue to ku'e the illegality of the U.S. here in Hawaii. Mahalo.
I'm going to ask you, I am on number 12, and I've got 120 people. So when I call the 5 names, if you could come up. So I've got Leilani, Sampson, and then Uncle Sam.
E nā kupuna, nā ohana, nā oiwi o ke aina aloha o Hawaii nei. Aloha pumehana kākou. My name is Leilani Lindsay Kaupuni. I'm a Hawaiian. I'm a native of this land. We used to call ourselves Native Hawaiian. It's a term that we've used to identify ourselves for many years. But ever since the U.S. Congress and the state of Hawaii have now turned that into a legal definition, it no longer applies to us. It applies to those who want to enter into a special trust relationship with the U.S. administered through the Department of Interior and Department of Justice, who are seeking self-determination within the framework of the federal government. That doesn't apply to us. I am not a Native Hawaiian according to that legal definition. Why would we who come from an ancient and powerful lineage seek recognition from a government who is culturally immature and morally and economically bankrupt? Why would we trust a government that has shown us for over 100 years that they cannot be trusted? They don't even follow their own constitution. They have broken their treaties with the Hawaiian Kingdom. So none of your questions apply to me because I'm not a native Hawaiian. So then why am I here? I am here to testify and affirm that the Hawaiian Kingdom continues to exist. We are Hawaiian subjects. As our kupuna before us who signed the keawe petitions of 1897. They laid a firm foundation for us. And all we have to do is remember and stand together with courage and let the United States, the state of Hawaii, and the Office of Hawaiian Affairs know that we know who we are.
Samson Brown, Uncle Sam.
Did you speak? Oh, okay, Uncle, since you spoke, no, Uncle. We're going to let everybody else speak.
Samson Brown.
Yeah, but you know why, Uncle
I'm
Sam?
the kupuna.
Because, Uncle, I've got 120 people and I'm only on number 12.
You'll be only a short.
No, Uncle, if you, just to be fair to everybody.
Why? I'll tell you this one. We cannot answer your question, your 5 questions, until you take the essence of Queen Liliuokalani's land back up to her grave site. And then after that, go back down to Queen Liliuokalani, the palace, and make a proclamation. And who will that be done by? President Barack Obama. If he is a Hawaiian, he will do that.
Thank you, Uncle. I have Uncle Sam. After Uncle Sam, if I could have Katrina Morgan, Kelvin, James P. Hanna, Skippy Ione, and Thomas B. Belsley.
Aloha kako. Nakupuna. Aloha.
Aloha.
Panel, thank you for being here. Every Kanaka Maole that lives today, I have your kupuna in this book right here. Right here. Panel, this gives you the answer. No. No. That was their question. That was the answer. In 1896, so in all of your questions, this is the ticket. It took 120 years for you to put us in the position we're here today. I have 2 minutes to beg you to get out of here. 2 minutes. And it takes you 120 years to suppress us and depress us. And our people have died because of this. Our kupuna don't go to Halikauka, they don't go to the hospital because they're embarrassed. When you go there, you have a descendant of an immigrant. They're saying, oh, how are you going to pay for this? What kind of insurance you get? Not what's wrong with you. How can we help you? Money, 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 money. Show me the money. And that's what this is all about. You want my land. You're not going to get it. Because it's going to take the Secretary of State to be here. Secretary of State to be here. Mahalo. See there? 2 minutes.
I have Katrina, Kelvin, and Skippy, and Thomas.
Hi, my name is Katrina. I really wanted to come here today. We drove from the other side of the island just to say definitely to all 5 questions. The answer is no. The biggest obvious thing is all these sentences that use the term Native Hawaiian community. First of all, the Native Hawaiian was something kind of tagged on, just like calling the original Americans Native Americans. They are Kanaka. And it appears, especially after hearing a taped session in Honolulu last week of William Isla, the head of the DLNR, speaking, and he was saying yes, 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 yes to everything, because otherwise, he said, 3 generations from now, there'll be no more funding. You guys are passing up on all this extra trust, benefit, welfare, like for the old people in the schools. And if you keep saying no, if you say no now, then no more freebies, you know. And a government-to-government relationship, it should be saying government to kingdom, because the kingdom does exist. And it appears that that's why this panel was brought up when the head of OHA asked the question in Washington, D.C., you know, try to show us the kingdom doesn't exist, and the rest of OHA says, oh, we withdraw that request. I mean, it's obvious. Anybody do any research in any library on the internet, and you can find out the kingdom does exist. All this is illegal, and it's just really sad, all the stolen lands. There's no such thing as ceded lands. It's kingdom, government lands that belong to the people. And it was all the American laws that allowed all the quiet title and adverse possession and the sugar companies and everybody to wipe almost everybody off the land. And, you know, it's just got to stop. So the government-to-government relationship has to be allow the restoration of the kingdom. But I see the biggest problem. That means Obama, if he was really born on Oahu, cannot be the president. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Calvin, is Calvin here? Calvin Kalei, and then I have Skippy Ione, Thomas, Belsky, Francis Perry. I'm going to keep on going down. Faye Hano Hano. Oh.
Aloha kamana upono grab. My name is Keawe William Ioane. I represent the Huipu Laka Civic Club, the unemployed, the unable to get on the land because they don't make enough money, 50% Hawaiians, more better than being born, 49%. I represent all the druggies, the disenfranchised, because I want to thank you guys for coming. Because we've never been able to talk to you people because the Office of Hawaiian Despair, the civic clubs, they hold all their meetings on the moku, on the American continent. This is the first time the Hawaiian community has met somebody. We never meet nobody. So that shows to me that the Democratic Party in Hawaii is some corrupt son bitches. And we'd like to reach out to the Republican Party, see if they can screw us better. You know, because the Democratic Party is doing a horrible job. And while you're here, if you want to investigate something, investigate the Department of Hawaiian Homes. Them some corrupt Democrats you've ever seen. I tell you, on Hawaiian homelands where you are now, there is more non-natives than natives. You understand? And so that the Democratic Party has efficiently held us down to compliant rapees. And y'all represent the raper. So as far as those 5 questions, no. I'm going to go 3 more. No. Just in case you missed the first 5, use any of the 10 thereafter. Bye.
Okay, what are you here?
Aloha kako. My name is Tomas Belsky. I've been in Hawaii 41 years. My precious cocoa is mixed with the precious cocoa of the Hawaiian people, proud to say. It's birthday time. America's celebrating a birthday, July the 4th. I'm celebrating birthday July the 4th, and Moani Keala, a real Hawaiian patriot, she also has a birthday July the 4th. So, we'd like to give a little suggestion, a gift of experience perhaps to America as I see it. America would be very wise to learn from Hawaii the basic principles of aloha aina, which means to care for, respect, and love the land. That's so fundamental and is so missing from the philosophy or lack of philosophy that guides America today. It's very important. Now, Hawaii had a constitutional monarchy when it was overthrown. This has been acknowledged. So did England. Can we say that England was a tribe? Same form of government. So, I think it's been made abundantly clear here that there's plenty of intelligence and enthusiasm for the Hawaiian people writing the situation that history has laid upon them. And I would suggest very strongly that you listen to the Hawaiians and just sit back, and if they ask for help, help. But if they don't, hands off. It'd be a great thing. Mahalo.
Mahalo to Francis. After Francis, Kamehameha.
Aloha. My name is Francis Berry. I'm 65 years old, and I'm a native Hawaiian. I've been waiting my whole life for this. So I choose to restore the kingdom, Hawaiian kingdom. Mama.
After Trey, I have Tracy Calais, and then I have Lakea Trask, Patrick, Ming, Chad Ha'a, and Albert Ha.
Mahalo Dan. Aloha ia kako. Ke velina mai kuone hanau, mai puna mai makamoku o keawe. O whepo hano ko o inoa, o waukaluna maka ainana, mai ka apana ha, mai ke aupuni o Hawaii nei. Mahalo ia o ko no ki ia halawai, no ki ia papahana, he waloa. O ko maha oi, awe, awe, awe. Heni nau ka'u, aya ihia o Barakane, o Bamakane, aya ihia o Karikane. Na vai I hana no na ninau e lima. Aya ihia ka maluhia a me ki aloha. E ia ka pane. E himeni kako Hawaii pono I e kolu pauko. Hawaii pono I nana I komo I kalani ali I ke ali I makua lani e Kamehameha e na kawa e pale me ka ihe Hawaii pono I nana I nali I na pua mulio na poki I makua lani e Kamehameha e na kawa e pale me ka ihe Hawaii pono I o ka lahui e o ka uhana nui e ui e makua lani e Kamehameha e na kawa e pale me ka ihe. E ola, o lelo na kua ine. E ola ka mo I. nui. Ua lava mako I ka ai po haku. Mahalo ia o ko no ko ho'ola ho'olohe ana I a'u na ka po mai kai a me ka malu ia I a kāko. Mahalo.
Tracy Haller. And then after Tracy, I have Lakea Trask, Patrick Ning, Chad Ha'a, and Albert Ha'a.
Aloha mai kākou. My name is Trace Kaimana Kale. I'm a subject of the Hawaiian Kingdom, and I am not an American. I'm opposed to the illegal occupation by the United States here in the Hawaiian Kingdom. No to all of the questions posed. You've been here for the last 121 years, benefiting from the exploitation of our resources and the degradation and indoctrination of our people and our culture. One prime example of your exploitation being the Jones Act. The Jones Act was a law passed in the 1920s designed to protect the U.S. domestic shipping industry. And because of the Jones Act, goods from China and other countries must first go to the continent, where they're transferred onto a U.S. vessel and then brought back to Hawaii, where they tack on exorbitant shipping fees that double, triple, and even quadruple our cost of living here in the islands. Basically, the U.S. is bad for business. You say you want to help, but let's actually look at your track record of being in Hawaii. You've stolen our land. You destroyed our access to culture, food sources, and basic services. And now, we, the Aboriginal people of Hawaii, are currently ranked in almost every health and socioeconomic indicator, including poverty, education, incarceration, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and depression. So don't you say you want to help us, because we know that you're the very ones who continue to subject us to this persecution, and will never accept a royal commission or anything that forces the issue of race upon us, and have us begging for freedom from the very country, the United States, that continues to oppress us. We are people hungry for change, who will not be persuaded by arguments of fear and ethnicity. We are people unified by nationality, a pū kahi. We are one nation, one banner, one va. Mahalo.
Aloha mai kākou e nā poe kanaka, nā o makua, nā kupuna, nā kua o ko Hawaii pai aina. Aloha. Oh, honest Americans. I stand before you today empowered by the nearly 40,000 who signed the keawe petitions and said no to annexation. The hundreds who've testified already on their behalf. I stand here humbled, ha'a, that you folks have come all this way to meet us face to face, alo to alo. And I stand before you angered and outraged at your motives for being here. We're trying once again to steal our identity. We are Kanaka Maoli. Yeah, we are not Native Americans, and we object to any process that subjects us to the same kind of dysfunctional decision-making and false comforts of self-determination that comes with that. As a DOI, we know, and according to your own rules, that you can't make us a tribe. Yeah? You guys can't even make us a tribe, so why are you here? Other than to violate your own laws and policy and frame these meetings in such a way that allows you to circumvent due process. To me, it seems like you folks are asking permission from us to participate in and changing your own rules, making us part of and accessories to this crime and to this continual heva. Yeah? We are here today because of our moku, our genealogy, and our history, which manifests itself now from over 120 years of resistance, keawe, and because of our organic relationship with the natural environment, our love for the Aina, our ancestor. Yeah? Whereas you are here on behalf of your genealogy, a storied past of wronging indigenous peoples, violating our basic human rights, liberties, freedoms, exploitation of our resources, poisoning our environment, disrespecting our sacred sites, misappropriating our culture and language, to ensure you maximize your profits and domination, and because you want us now to actively participate with you in relinquishing our claims of inherent sovereignty and injury. 121 years. Yeah? So all honest Americans, I'm gonna wrap them up real quick. All honest Americans, ho'oia i'o, be truthful. Take back to America with you the true spirit of these testimonies. Prove that you will start being transparent and honest with us so that we may, at long last, rebuild and reestablish this relationship between Kanaka and American on a truthful foundation. One of your own, former CIA official, Robert David Steele, said it best. We are in an end of an era in which lies can be used to steal from the public and the commons. We are at the beginning of an era in which truth and public service can restore us all to a state of grace. So please, ho'oia i'o, honor our treaties, honor our laws and constitution, and honor our aloha. But do not mistake our aloha for weakness. Do not mistake our nationalism for racism, and do not mistake our aina for your pocketbooks. Ahiki ke aloha aina hope loa, mahalo.
So the next, I have number 27 is Chad Ha'a, and then Albert Ha'a is right after that. So do we have the Ha'a brothers? Okay, next I have Marie Cruz, Jim Albertini, Chandel Asuncion, Kealoha Iopu, Leland Pa, Eddie Mahailu, Kimi Burke. Am I calling your name? Maureen, why don't you come?
Okay. My name is Maureen Cruz. I am opposed and object to all 5 questions. My opposition is because Secretary of State John Kerry has not responded to the letter dated May 5th, 2014 from Kamehameha Crab. I also submitted Kamehameha Crab's letter to the Department of Energy on May 14th in public comment. I support the mission statement of MANA, revised 050908. I support the oral statements made by Nililani Trask in Honolulu and now here in Hilo, or Keaukaha. I am concerned for human rights, civil rights, respectively. I'm a member of the Huipulaka Hawaiian Civic Club and support their platform, which is Skippy, our president. Therefore, my answer to all 5 questions is no. Thank you very much.
Is it Albert? Albert and then Chad? Okay, Chad.
Good evening, everybody. Aloha, and thanks for coming. First of all, this government thing. We can't have one government if we no more land. First of all, the law of the land belongs to the owners. Right now, we no more owners. We get heirs to keawe keaole. We get pala pala from the courts that put us in a position of being owners of the land. 7 years, we tried to share with the people, the government, the mayor, everybody. You know what they tell us? They no more jurisdiction. All I can say is, the land give an owner. It's only pala pala given by the courts to my family. Before we can have a government, we got to figure out who owns the land. And the land belongs to all the people. It is my family's duty to secure this land, not for our benefit, but for everybody. And that is our goal. That's my family's goal right now. Secure what belongs to our people. Thank you very much.
I have Jim Albertini, Chandel Asuncion, and Kealoha Ioku.
Aloha kako. I'm Jim Albertini, a farmer and peace activist in the Olaha district of Moku, Keawe. I am here tonight to stand in solidarity with Kanaka Maoli, who are strongly opposed to the DOI presence in Hawaii to conduct these hearings. To all 5 questions and to the proposed amendments to the administrative rules and regulations, I say no, 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 no. The U.S. Department of the Interior and the United States as a whole should stop intervening in the internal affairs of other independent nations all over the world, including the U.S.-occupied Kingdom of Hawaii. Such intervention is a blatant illegal violation of international law. The U.S. needs to learn that Hawaii and the world are not U.S. colonies. The Department of the Interior's so-called federal recognition and government-to-government relationship is trying to do through executive action what the Keaukaha Bill tried to do through congressional action. That is, to subvert what justice demands. I view federal recognition and this entire Department of Interior process as a trap. It divides Hawaiians against Hawaiians and others in Hawaii. It causes confusion and provides a cover to complete the theft of Hawaiian Kingdom lands. Justice demands the deoccupation of Hawaii. Justice demands the restoration of the multi-ethnic, independent nation-state of Hawaii, the Kingdom of Hawaii, that existed prior to 1893 and the Bayonet Constitution of 1887. Nothing less. Keawe.
I have number 31 is Chandel, 32 Kealoha.
Aloha e kako. My name is Chandel Keawe. My married name is Ascension. I'm a 7th generation Hawaiian hostage, held captive by the United States in a generational prison called the state of Hawaii. The United States is an impediment to the survival of the Hawaiian people. The question proposed by the United States has not been changed in 121 years. They still tower before us, asking us the same thing, the same question. Let us organize you. The people of our nation have been stripped of our humble possessions, our land and our water. We've been barred from our resources, our mountains, forests, streams, and the oceans. We've been removed from our culture and our language, our economy and our kuleana. Yet we stand before you strong and resolute, filled with pride for our loyalty and our allegiance to our ali'i and the Kingdom of Hawaii. Look around you as you tour the islands. 121 years later, we have not grown weary, so weary that we're willing to succumb to our oppressors. Tell Washington, the people of Hawaii stand together, and we are forever loyal to the Hawaiian Kingdom. The United States government has failed to do right by its citizens. In fact, they no longer recognize their citizens within their own government. They put corporations and reckless development over people. While waiting for the United States to behave and to act with prudence and civility, the same civility that it expects of its citizens, I'm actively involved with legislation in Hawaii to protect our land, water, air, and most importantly, our people, so that they may continue to be strong, so that they can not only survive this dictatorship, but so that we can thrive once again as a nation. We cannot allow the United States to deplete our lands and poison our people in the name of greed. 121 years ago, we as a nation rejected your offer to organize us. And today, my answer is still the same as my ancestors, and that is no. A'ole. Mahalo.
I have Keaukaha, Leland Paul, Eddie Mahaulu. I do want to say, and I know this is going to make people very angry, but we are going to close at 9 o'clock, and I'm on number 34, and I have 120 people.
Aloha, aloha kākou. Ke aloha o io pū ko ingoa. Mahalo for the opportunity to speak with you by means of the Hawaiian nation who feel as I do about our homelands given to us by Io, the creator of all. My name is Ke aloha o io pū. The translation is proclaim the love breath of the creator. I am one of his messengers. A visionary, I am. I am shown by our creator, Io, how the order of his creation should be, not the imbalance of what we witness today. This will all change. I see a nation, the Hawaiian kingdom of Aloha, free of intruding and oppressive foreign bodies that presently occupy our homelands given to us by Io, our creator. I see a nation, the Hawaiian kingdom of Aloha, as a neutral, educated, and progressive nation of peoples who do not need to be told how to live our daily lives by another government. I see a nation, the Hawaiian kingdom of Aloha, as our own government. I see no need for an illegal occupying government to tell us how we should operate our own government. I see a nation, the Hawaiian kingdom of Aloha, as a sovereign, free nation among the family of nations in the world, showing Aloha for the world to see and understand. I see a nation where property taxes is not paid by any Hawaiian national, including our people's people, living on the property of their own aina. And yet, when the taxes is paid, it should be by private business and corporations. In a nation, a Hawaiian kingdom nation, free of income taxes and threats of foreclosure on personal and business property by the illegal charges of the IRS. I have many, many more things that I have seen that Io has given to me to present to you. I have presented these to this panel, and I thank you for showing up in support of a nation well standing. Aloha. Ahui hoi.
I have Leland. After Leland, Eddie Mahaulu, Kimi Burke, Christian, and then Floyd.
Aloha kako. As regards to the ANPRM rule changes, I say no. Question 1, no. Question number 2, no. Question number 3, no. Question number 4, no. And question number 5, no. Okay. In 2000, the year 2000, the Department of Interior and the Department of Justice issued a joint report. And in that joint report, it was for the process on reconciliation. And on page 30, your authority under that is you referenced the Newlands Joint Resolution of Annexation as the authority that you have to be here. But in 1988, there was also a report put out by the Justice Department. And it was, excuse me, okay. Yes, it was the opinion of the Office of Legal Counsel, yeah, for the Newlands Resolution, which you claim you have jurisdiction. And That was done by Douglas Kimmett. And the memorandum was put out by the Assistant Attorney General, authored by Assistant Attorney General for Abraham D. Sofer, legal advisor. I'm sorry. Well, it comes to fact that that opinion said the joint resolution doesn't have the authority to annex a foreign country. So actually what we have here is an illegal prolonged occupation. And, okay, yes, so the proper authority to be here would be the Department, the Secretary of State. So I would have to say we need to be speaking to them. Thank you.
Mahalo. Eddie, after Eddie, Keene Burke, and then Christian.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eddie Maulu. And the answer to all of your questions is no. Because A, I'm not an Indian, and neither am I a Native American. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I believe you folks don't have the authority or the jurisdiction to be here based on all of the previous testimony, which I agree with. Again, John Kerry and the Department of State is who should be dealing with the Kingdom of Hawaii. So if there's anything that you're going to take back to Washington, please take it up to your chain of command, including up to Barack if you want to, that I feel that Hawaii has been politically, economically, and socially genocidal. Genocide has been us. Power rating. Anyway, thanks for listening.
I'm going to take Auntie Lei Kalamau.
Thank you and welcome to Hawaii. I want to address President Obama and to let him know I don't think anybody in this room can do his job. So he has a lot on his shoulders and I commend him for his work. My name is Lei Kalamau and I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we are called the Mormons as well. I hold a current temple recommend, and so I love the Lord Jesus Christ very much, and I want to do His will. For in the past year and a half, I have been aligning my life to obey the commandments of God. For I, the Lord, am bound when ye do what I say. But when ye do not what I say, ye have no promise. I am a scripture reader. His words are in the scripture. I believe everything that is written in the King James Version. And all night for the past 2 hours, I have been hearing contention. Do you know why? Because the Hawaiian people have sinned. In their own house, I bet you they're not obeying God's commandments. For years, the Lord has done this to us because of sin. So I want you to know I went online, spent money for these testimonies that I printed, and I studied tonight to be here. And the only testimony that draws me to him is Kali Watson, who says that we stand in jeopardy of being evicted from Hawaiian homelands. And I am Section 8. I live in a brand new apartment. The Lord has blessed me, and I'm poor. Sorry.
Thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Auntie. I have, is it Keene Burke, Christian, Floyd, and Roxanne.
Hello, Kako. My name is Kini Pamara Kalelani Burke. I got the name Pamara. My dad was one of the first Hawaiians to colonize the South Pacific Islands before the Second World War. Him and a bunch of Hawaiian boys went down to colonize the Pacific Islands for the, I guess, the Department of Interior. And so, I go way back. The Department of Interior is supposed to protect the land and natural resources and the culture. So I ask you to stop the bombing in our PTA and also to be desecrating our land and also to take off all those observatories up on Mauna Kea, because Mauna Kea is our sacred mountain. Number two, because it's our biggest heiau in the whole Pacific Ocean. And we didn't need all these telescopes up there. We navigated from the mountains, but we didn't need all these buildings up there. So hammer them buggers, because we didn't need them. And also, how can you help us by, you want to help us with our government when you're still desecrating our lands? You're bombing our lands, you're desecrating our temple, and you're desecrating our lives. Mahalo.
It's 8 o'clock and I've got 1 more hour, so next is Christian, Floyd, Roxanne, Edwin, and Danny.
Hello, Department of Interior, and my fellow Kanaka Maori. I stand before you today to give testimony to the 5 questions presented. Question number 1, I say no. The definition of facilitate is to make an action or process easier. As it has been seen not only here, but in other Native communities, this process when dealing with the U.S. or any entity of it has never been easy. Question number 2, no. Secretary should not assist the Hawaiian subjects. Till today, I've watched as many Native families struggle, even our Native-based programs struggle, to stay afloat. And what are any of these agencies doing to assist our people? Organizations that were created to protect and ensure the enhancement of life of the Hawaiian people sit idly by as our culturally based programs fade away. And yet you ask us to trust you. Trust is something that is earned, not given. Question number 3 is now void. Question number 4, I say no. Because what I want has nothing to do with being consistent with the U.S. federal law. What I want is freedom, the same freedom your forefathers have strived for in 1765 and finally obtained in 1783. But yet you give us a 60-day period to respond to this nonsensical matter as if we have no other options. We know our rights. We know what happened 121 years ago. And we will not stop until it is made right.
Okay, next I have Floyd, after Floyd, Roxanne, and then Edwin.
I'll make mine short and sweet, because I have mixed emotions about a lot of things. My son is a young Hawaiian doctor working with the Choctaw Nation, and I see what they have. I think the best thing for the United States government to do it for the Hawaiian people is uphold the treaties, uphold the laws that was laid, and give them the money so they can have economic freedom. Thank you.
Do I have Roxanne? After Roxanne, Edwin, and then Danny Lai.
Aloha e ko Hawaii. My name for the record is Roxanne Kapui Mohalai Kalani Stewart, born and raised here in Hilo. I am a Hawaiian. I am a Hawaiian practitioner and a Hawaiian kumu of keiki and opio, some of whom are here tonight to bear witness to these proceedings. I represent myself, my ohana, my practice, keawe kanaloa, and kaipalawa. In pondering the questions posed here, let us consider the previous practice of the federal government in their infinite wisdom in policy making and stewardship of their resources, where informed decisions are made directly on site in Washington, D.C., regardless of the actual areas affected by these decisions. Where decisions are made in a timely manner, the apology bill came down swiftly 100 years or so after the fact, where decisions about resources and their sustainability are made with the very best intentions for the select 1%. Who would entrust in such rationale, conscience, and judgment? As for the state of Hawaii as a facilitating entity instead of the US, everything previously stated in regards to the great abilities of the US hold true for the state of Hawaii, for they too would never have any standing on our luakini. We all know that this is not the entity with whom these discussions should be taking place. We here will continue to perpetuate our cultural practices. We will continue to amass advanced degrees and work diligently to repair the disarray from the state's most excellent stewardship of our aina and our kai. We await justice for our people and for our queen in the world courts, and perhaps then we shall consider forming relations with the United States. In closing, my answers to all of your questions, a'ole. Pipi holo ka'au. Mahalo.
Edwin, and then Danny. After Danny is Georgette, and then Georgette Yandel, and then Stephen Palmeyer.
Aloha, my name is Danny Lee. I live in Keawe on the Big Island. First of all, I want to thank the host culture for allowing me the opportunity for the past 44 years to get an education, to learn the trade, and build my own home. So I sincerely hope that other people have the same lessons. Now I studied history at the University of Hawaii. And to me, history is not just about past events or just dead people. The people's history is inspirational. And I want to read a little passage. Last year there was a play about the trial of Liliuokalani in Hilo. Overflowing crowds. They had to extend it. So there was a review, and this is our local paper, Aloha Aina Ea Ea. I want to read a passage from the review. The other exciting, instructive aspect of the wonderful presentation of the trial of Liliuokalani is that it has brilliantly exposed the nefarious development of regime change policy of the then emerging USA empire. The overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom in 1893 by a nominally local revolutionary committee backed by the full might of the U.S. military, has subsequently become the standard mode of operation of Washington's later century-long neo-colonialist interventions all around the world. Hence, the trial of Liliuokalani is, wittingly or otherwise, a powerful indictment of contemporary USA empire's full-spectrum dominant political intrigues across 3 continents: Latin America, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, and the entire Pacific Moana Nui. And the people of the world are already beginning to understand that this is the course that they have to resist. And if we will unite with the progressive people around the world, we will begin to rewrite a future alternative history.
Georgette, and then Stephen. After Stephen is Teresa Taber, Kara Uiki.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Georgette Yandel. If I'm representing anybody tonight, I'd like to think it's the people in the city of Boston that, like many people here tonight, did not consent to have the name of their city put on the side of the United States warship, let alone the one that would be in Pearl Harbor and cause the reason we are all here this evening. Speakers tonight have come up and spoken about the 5 questions. I had the opportunity to be at in Nanakuli and participate in the session there. where at least it was represented to people to realize, you guys, there's 19 questions, okay? And if you take a look at the ones that come after 5, that's when you start getting into it. So, the proposed rules are here. Make sure you read them, okay? What needs to be done here is that these two agencies, in particular, I'd like to address to the Department of Justice, who kind of like sneaks in here. We're very familiar with the Department of Justice here in Hawaii Island, and particularly Hilo, but we're not too familiar with this representation here from the environmental section. We're more familiar with the FBI, DEA, AFT, the Bureau of Corrections, and we would like to ask that you guys need to take a cue from our resident poet laureates. Sudden rush. Uncle Sam's hands are filthy. You need to wash them before he can come and seek to make amends for what has happened. But before you can get forgiveness, there must be repentance. You are able to act through the Department of Justice, and in particular through your Department of Pardons. That would be a new one for us to realize here. We would also ask the intervention of the Solicitor General and the Attorney General to take a look at the abuse by the Department of Land and Natural Resources, the Department of Public Safety, for the stewardship of Crown lands in the state of Hawaii.
All right, next, and the reason is we've got 50 minutes. All right, Stephen, then we have Teresa Tavere and Kara.
The Department of Interior is misrepresenting the American people. It's a shameful act. Please have the shame to either resign or in protest to stand aside. This is not a helpful thing that you are doing as individuals. There's something called the universal soldier. You have a responsibility to do what is responsible. Please, it's embarrassing. We have dignity here in Hawaii. The people of Hawaii are dignified people. It is shameful. It is shameful what the Interior Department is attempting here to tell us that there is a process that maybe you should be making. It is a shameful thing. I'm Pal.
I have Teresa, Kara, Brenda Lee, Keaukaha.
Aloha kako. First, my answers to your questions 1 through 5 is no to all 5. I don't acknowledge the other questions that you've asked. 2, I protest this assembly of our people, especially our kupuna, who are being subjugated once again to emotional, psychological, and spiritual duress. 3rd, I'd like to express my displeasure at the lack of notification, not only to our people here in Hawaii, but also the majority of our lohui that is in Alaska and the lower 48s, including those in Europe and Asia. I'm a moderator for Hawaiian History and Culture Group on Facebook, with over 13,500 members growing daily from around the world, a large majority Kanaka Maoli, that were not given any notice and asked me to speak as their voices are not being acknowledged. But I'm here to tell them that their lohui has not forgotten them, and on their behalf, apology is not accepted. The fact that we have no live streaming for our people right now, as I sit here in this gym, that are begging and crying to know what is going on in their own communities, is unacceptable. 5, the heavy police presence is just a glimpse, a reminder to us all how our beloved queen must have felt imprisoned in her own palace, with the heavy steps of soldier doors, boots outside her room, all hours of the day, echoing the horrifying reality that her beloved country was being stolen by citizens of the United States of America. To the United States, I say this: deoccupy Hawaii. To the world, I call on all countries United Nations, Native American tribes, and American citizens to join the Hawaiian Kingdom and the Hawaiian people for the fight for justice. To our people, I say this: we have a proud history and a bright future ahead of us. The time is now to gather our best, those that are loyal to the Crown, Kingdom, and Lahui, and raise our nation from the ashes of occupation. For our people, now is the time. O keawe Kamehameha, now is the time. For love of country in our Queen's name. Mahalo.
Thank you. And Kara Uefi. After Kara, I have Brenda Lee, and then Keaukaha.
Aloha mai kākou, o Kara Ueki ko inoa. No Maui mai au, noho wau ma Volcano Village I Kiamala. So I'm from Maui, but I just loved it here, so I stayed. Actually, I'm actually full Japanese, if you cannot tell. I know I may be a little bit taller than the average Japanese, you know, but my na'o, my essence is Hawaiian. My brain, my thinking has been brought up in the American system. But that is slowly changing and is changing for the better. And I mahalo everybody here because it's you guys who have shown me the truth and shown me the way of what it is to be Hawaiian. So I ask you to not overlook what everyone is saying, but to go back and to actually tell the people that has jurisdiction over this matter and fight for us if you really want to help us. And yeah, mahalo.
I have Brenda Lee, Keaukaha, Polani Mai Kahakalau, and Imin Mai Kalani Kahakalau.
Good evening. My name is Brenda Luana Machado Lee, and I am here representing myself because I can only speak for me. But I have 5 wonderful children, 16 beautiful grandchildren, and 42 wonderful foster grandchildren. And I stand firm in my position. I cannot do anything but stand guard because I know what it's like not to stand guard. And then somebody gets pregnant and everything gets screwed up. But anyway, I am proud that I have reached a time in my life that is, I'm 72 years old, and it was 36 years ago on July 4th that we held the first airport demonstration. And I gave my daughter, my last baby, number 5, Angie, the right to be born without stress. Because my husband was coming home from Hawaiian home meetings and he needed help and he was so stressed out. And I said, I'm not going to participate until I have this baby. So with all that happened, the Hawaiian Homes demonstration happened, and it gave me an opportunity to see what would happen. And it was really hard, but we got through, and the governor pushed it aside and said, oh, people were misled. And I said, they were not misled. I led them, and it was based on truth that I had researched for 1 year. So that's what happened, and I'm grateful to have had that opportunity. I wish I had more, but I will submit some more. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Aloha mai nā akua, nā auma akua, aloha mai nā kupuna me nā akua, Mai nā po e kipa mai a kua mai nei mā ke Keaukaha nei o wau no o Keaukaha. Greetings, my name is Keaukaha and I am Hawaiian. So was my father, Lopaka Kahakalao, my grandfather, William Kiahunui Kahakalao, and his parents, Daniel Kikino Kahakalao and Kiao Opupele, and all of the ancestors that come before that. And we have never relinquished our right to be Hawaiian. And so I raised my two daughters from the moment they were born as Hawaiians. I taught them our language like it was passed down to me from my kupuna. I raised them in the taro patch of Waipio so that they can take care of the land like our kupuna took care of the land. I introduced them to their and to our kupuna through ceremonies from the beginning of time because we are Hawaiian and we are a nation that is under distress, that was illegally overthrown by the United States government, but we have never relinquished ourselves to be a nation. My mom is pure German, and so I lived in the occupied country of Germany where the US was also occupying, and we noticed that there was a division between the countries that is no longer. If those kind of changes can happen, then the United States too can return to us our nation of Hawaii name. And it's not a matter of you helping us, because we don't need your help. As an educated Hawaiian, as a grassroots practitioner, I'm 100% convinced that we together, Kako, the Hawaiians, not Mako as far as you folks are concerned, we are ready, willing, and able to begin this process of creating our own nation. And what you need to do is to deoccupy. You need to leave like you've left other places, follow that same pattern, and let us allow us to control our own destiny, to create our own future for my mo'opuna that are coming up in future generations. So mahalo nui loa e nā po'e a ko mai nei, mahalo no e nā makua, nā kupuna, me nā au mākua, me ke akua mana loa I mālama ia mākua a pau. Aloha.
Mai ka kiina kalai, ka hopoa kane, ai ka mole olu ole hua I kaio kanaloa. Welina mai e na kupa o Hawaii kua uli mo kua keawe. O wau no o polani maka mai kua ko kalani kahakalau. Ke kia ku amena le kahakalau. Greetings everyone, my name is Polani Makamai Kuako Kalani Kahakalau. I am the daughter of Kuena Le Kahakalau. I am currently a student at Hawaii Community College, acquiring my AA and Hawaiian Studies. My testimony this evening is simple. As a young Hawaiian, born on the Hawaii Kua'uli and raised in the taro patches of Waipio Valley, I have been involved in Hawaiian ceremony and cultural practices since birth. Graduating from Hawaii's first fully accredited Hawaiian-focused charter school, I have learned about our history, language, and culture and the accomplishments of our Hawaiian kupuna as expert navigators, agriculturalists, and functional artists. As their descendant, I have no doubt that we, the Hawaiian people, do not need the U.S. federal government or the Hawaiian state government to create and execute our own process of reestablishing an independent Hawaiian nation. We do need the necessary resources to engage in such process, which should be provided by the state and federal government who have profited from our lands and other resources for many years. As to your first question, my answer is no. Just let us create our own independent nation first, and then the Secretary can propose administrative rules that pertain to the U.S. The answer to number two is also no. We do not need your assistance to reestablish our Hawaiian government, and based on the testimony so far, it appears like the majority of Hawaiians, including myself, don't want you either. We don't need you, and we don't want you. All we want is to take care of our kuleana, our responsibilities. As to question 4, it is also no. As the illegal occupier of Hawaii, neither the federal government nor the Hawaii state, an agent of illegal occupiers, should be involved in reestablishing our Hawaiian government. Please understand this is merely a native Hawaiian kuleana. It is our responsibility to reestablish a Hawaiian nation independent from all others, including the U.S. Mahalo nui. Mahalo.
After you, mine is Jerry Ann.
Aloha mai kākou, o wau o I ini mai kalani ki ali I kua aina kākalau. O ai piu o ko u aina, o mauna kea ko u mauna, he haumana au ma ke kula nui o hilo, a o Hawaii ko u mokupuni. Aloha ani ini kākalau. I'm a student at UH Hilo. I'm a Chancellor Scholar. I'm a cultural practitioner, and I am saying no to all 5 of your questions. And the simple reason is because we can do it ourselves, because we know ourselves the best. We can answer anything we need. We know what our keikis need, so we can do our own education. We know we like going outside and getting our own food. It's not poverty. We can do all of that. We can answer our own questions, and when we've asked you, there hasn't been any answer. You guys have shoved us in with everybody else, and we're unique. We're not like everybody else. And so I'm part of this future generation, and I'm ready to pick up whatever I have to, if it's a neva, if it's a book, whatever it is. I am here. I was raised culturally, but I also have the education piece, which is what we need. And so thank you for the offer, but no thank you.
Thank you. The next I have is Jerry Ann Lowell Pereira, and number 57 is Noeau Cole Earl Kalavaya. And I would tell you, we have 30 minutes, and I have a total of 151, and I am on number 56. Jerry Ann, are you here? Okay. Next, Noeau, are you here? Earl, Sky Ishibashi, and then Ole.
Aloha mai kākou, aloha e nā kupuna, nā kupo kia aina nei o hilo hana kahi, hilo I ka ua kani le hua no ha'i, mai ka piko wā kia ki ana aina nei o wai akia, aloha no kākou. My name is Noeau Peralto. I was born and raised here in this ahupua'a of Waiakea, and my ohana also comes from Koholalele in Hamakua on this island. I am here on behalf of my ohana and as a member of an organization called MANA, Movement for Aloha no ka Aina. My response to all the questions posed by the department is a'ole, no. As a great OEV scholar of the early 1900s, Joseph Moku Ohai Poi Poi from Kohala once said, "O ka makaukau mana mo'olelo o ko aina makua hine ke ke'ehina ike mua ma ke kalai aina e hiki ai ke pai ono ka pono o ka noho aupuni ana. A o ka pa'a o na mo'olelo o na aupuni like ole e ia no awa ne'i ka makaukau pai o na awau ana no ka pono o kou la hui." The knowledge of the histories of your motherland is the foundation upon which a firm political stand can be made, so that we may fight for the pono of our governance, and being versed in the histories of other governance is what will prepare you to engage in conscious struggle for the pono of your nation. We know the truth of our Lahui's history. It is this truth that compelled our kupuna to resist the United States occupation in these islands over a century ago, and it is this truth that has empowered many of us to continue on in this conscious struggle for the pono of our aina and our Lahui today. We derive our strength from our aina, and it is our deep aloha for our aina that is the foundation for our liberation. We know our past, as you have seen over the past week and tonight, and while the U.S. may be part of our presence by its own power, its utter disregard for the well-being of our aina and Lahui has deemed it necessary that we envision and enact a future for our children and grandchildren in which our nation, ka Lahui Kanaka, thrives independent of the United States once again. A'ole mea o iaku o ka vaivai e like me ke kanaka noho ku o ko'a no ke aloha I kona aina. These are the words of our great Hawaiian independence leader from Puna, Joseph Navahin. There is nothing of greater value than kanaka living independently for the aloha of our aina. This is the political consciousness of our kupuna. This is the foundation of our nation. Again, my response is no. Mahalo nui.
Earl, Sky, and Ole. Earl?
Aloha, I represent the Royal Order of Kamehameha, I'd like to ask Brother Kimu, he was so gracious to allow us to speak earlier. Please mind.
Uncle, you spoke for him.
Again, Ali, Paul Evans, you want to say a few words? No, I already had my time.
Thank you, Uncle.
Give it to this guy.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So, Ole, after that I have
Aloha, my brothers and sisters. And also to you United Statesians. Aloha. First, let me tell you a little bit about who I am and who I am not. I didn't grow up in these islands. But this moku is the only home I've ever known. I am not a native Hawaiian kupuna, but I am the kupuna of a native Hawaiian family. Everyone else who carries my last name in these islands carries the blood. And it's fallen to me to teach them the ways. And I throw in a few Indian ways along with it. That's where I'm from. But now, to answer your questions, I cannot answer these questions. You keep talking in these questions about Native Hawaiian. It's like the kink of the hair or the color of the skin matters. By Hawaiian law, that don't matter. Our people, under our old laws, if they were a citizen, they were a citizen. It didn't matter. So this is just, how would you call it? Racist basura, multicultural, kukai. And what needs to happen, the United States get out of these islands and let us work it out. We'll figure out what it should be, our government. We'll put it back together. And then it shouldn't be the Department of Interior. It should be the State Department come talk to us. Mahalo.
Mahalo. I am Kaituala Crab, Makana Lewis, number 63, Ronald Fujiyoshi, 64, Kaimi Aina Byrne, 65, Moses Crab, 66, Kealoha Pishiati. If I'm calling your name, please come up. 67, Clayton.
Velina me ke aloha, na kupuna na makua e na hoa makamaka e ia oko e na malihini ma ke ia ahiahi pomeikai o kākou e avau o kaipua ala crab, he kupa o ka aina e liki me ko'u mau kupuna, ko'u mau makua, ko'u ohana a ka'u mau keiki, e avau e kune me ka mahalo kia hui ana. I'm kaipua ala crab. I'm here this evening and first of all, I'd like to mahalo the Keaukaha community for hosting us. Mahalo for having us here in this community. How blessed we are to be here. I would like to welcome you, members of the representatives of the U.S. Department of the Interior and the U.S. Department of Justice. Thank you for your diligence in carrying out this mission of traveling our Pai'aina o Hawaii and listening to our people. Well, we've heard this evening that this is a historic moment. As I viewed various videos of meetings that were held previous, it has been stated by members of our panel that these 15 meetings are a direct response to requests from the State of Hawaii delegation in Washington and a group of Hawaiian constituents. I posed the question and asked, why now? One response may be that the Obama administration is nearing the end of its regime. Okay, if that's so, then how should we respond as the people who live on this aina, the larger group of Po'e Hawaii who are not involved in the planning process? This in itself is one real example of this trust that we are witnessing. In regards to your 5 questions that have been posed, my mana'o is a'ole, no, of course. For many years, for this 120 years, 21 years past, the wrong has been done. It isn't now the time for the United States to be accountable for their actions, to be accountable and be responsible for the wrong that has been done. I'd like to say that through these meetings, we have an opportunity to do what is pono, he huliau keia. We are wiser, we are smarter, we know what to do, and we'll govern our nation. Mahalo.
Makana Lewis, and And then after Makana, I have Kaimi Aina Born, Moses Crab, and Kealoha Pishiat.
Hello, my kako. Just wanted to mahalo everybody for sharing their manao, and very humble to be up here right now and try to be the voice of us. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a great upbringing. Went to Punana Leo, 2 years old. Went all the way to Hawaiian immersion and graduated in Naveo Kanya Pu. And it was funny because today I work at DOI Keaukaha Kamehameha School's outreach Hawaiian-based program. And we're up at Keauhou Forest today. And then we have all kind of students from all the different neighbor islands. And what we did today was kind of reforest up there where it was previously used for logging and ranching and stuff. And so for the students, we tried to promote as far as like the core Hawaiian values, ha'a, ikepono, malama, lahui, all that good stuff. But what I tried to incorporate in the short time we had with them today was that we have koa, we have laukahi, we have all these things in between, but the koa, although it's mighty and strong, you know, and it stands tall and everybody can see it, the guy laukahi on the bottom is just as important. And so basically, I'm here standing today as a member of this community and sharing that these values that we have, and this is what makes us Hawaiian, not the quantity of the blood that we share and what we have to, you know what I mean, the statistics, but what we embody as far as, you know what I mean, being respectful, being humble, being gratitude, standing standing low to the ground, just like the kumula'aus himself. So just here today to let you guys know that I'm dedicating my whole life to making sure that our keiki know that we'll stay rooted, and with that, hopefully, they can keep the fire in them to always be who they are and proud of who they are. Mahalo.
I have Kaimi Aina Born, Moses Crab.
Aloha mai kako, o wau Kaimi Aina, wahana wau, manei, wahipana, Hawaii. Hello everybody, my name is Kaimi Aina. He Hawaii, I am Hawaiian. To all the 5 Christians that you give to us today, I say a'ole to all of them. On behalf of my family and what we believe in, the Hawaiian kingdom still exists today. You have no power and authority here, and the power of the kingdom bites today. We are not just Hawaiian, we are not just people. The land is an extension of who we are. The ocean is an extension of who we are. The sky, the mountains, the streams, the food, kalo, haloa, that is who we are. And no one on this planet or earth or the American government can ever tell us who we are, who we can be. We will always be Hawaiian. Ku'e.
Moses, and Kealoha, and then Clayton Al.
Ano ai kia loha ia kakua pauloa e nā Hawaii, o ni ia mokupuni o Hawaii ni moku o keawe kia aloha. Because of the time of our testimony, down to 2 minutes, I would just like to submit for my testimony this evening, a'ole to all of the 5 questions, a'ole and no to all of the 5 nino. I have keys that have been left to us by our ali'i. First of all, I submit to you the Hawaii laws of 1841 and 1842, the Constitution. It was through him that Lili'uokalani, in her imprisonment at Iolani Palace, went into prayer. So if I may read from the Beatitudes. Ipule kako. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of God. We lost a kingdom, not a nation. And we stand on our laws and constitution of the kingdom that was overthrown in 1893 by the United States government. Iyo e Kalahui, Hawaii.
Aloha, my name is Keawe Pishona. I'm really honored to be here. All the speakers before me were so eloquent. I really don't have much more to add, but I am going to add some things. First of all, I am here speaking on behalf of Mauna Kea Nainaho. And also Kaipalawa, that's our ocean organization. I'd like to thank Kamehameha Pono, for your letter. And I want to say, don't forget Mauna Kea, please. I'm here to speak with justice, actually. I had the honor many years ago in 1998 to be on the international team that went to Geneva. I spoke in the Human Rights Commission under the agenda item of the rights of people whom are under foreign occupation and alien domination. And justice, this is important because even back then, we spoke with the proper entity. Just as Kamehameha Pono's letter was addressed to the State Department, not to Interior, we have also delivered our speech to the international arena and declared the human rights violations against our occupation. So this whole thing is a slap in the face. And you need to go back and tell President Obama and Mr. Kerry, whom we have great respect for, but to be serious and treat us seriously, because we have always honored America and given you aloha, and we don't expect anything in return except for mutual respect. We are a treaty-holding nation-state. We have a defined territory, and Mr. Justice, you need to see and look at those, because it's much bigger than the United States territory might claim here now. The metes and bounds are all set forth in the treaties. Look them up. And that is our kingdom. And it still exists. And everybody here is here to tell you that. And because we have a really short time, some of the alakai asked me to just sing this out. We might not have enough time for everybody to be heard, so all those in favor of no questions and we don't want to answer them and they're irrelevant here, raise your hand just so that we can get a number. Okay? So, mahalo for your time. Aloha for coming. Please take our message back to the proper authorities and free Hawaii. It's time to leave. And also, get rid of impact.
We got 15 minutes, and I'm at number 67, Clayton Au, Keaukaha and Keawe and Alona. Are you here? Yes, go ahead.
Aloha, everybody. Aloha, the panel. The answer to the questions from me are no, 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 and no. I'd like to adopt and all of the no responses that you've had throughout the islands that you've been to and that you've heard. Even though I do not acknowledge your jurisdiction over the parks, I am going to speak about something that most people are not speaking of. As far as Volcanoes National Park goes, which has been illegally retained by the U.S., but you do have some things to say as to what happens there. It's just the national park. I'm not telling you anything new that comes under your department. The legislation that established the park provided for home sites for Hawaiians. None have been provided yet after more than 50 years. Don't you think that this provision should be complied with? And if some of the lands that were named are inundated by new lava flows, it would be a cinch to amend the statute to provide other adequate lands. Because all Hawaiian lands, no matter how you got them or stole them, have perpetual conditions of being subject to the rights of native tenants, when are you going to recognize those rights? Remembering that the Petty Defense Fund case allows those who don't necessarily live on those lands to exercise those rights. When is the Department of Interior going to start paying the rent? And last of all, I resented that when I enter the park to practice my religion and culture, I'm asked to declare to which places I'm going, and even to suggest what I will be doing. I don't think that is any business of yours. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Alona Keawe, and then Alona.
Whoa. My name is, and it's very difficult as a Hawaiian to give this name, because it's by Ho'ikipo. And for those of you kupunas in the house who understand that. My name is Kamehameha. Ta mehaloha. Anu'u mealani. The lonely one, the one I love, the triangle in the heavens. Though we're not a written culture, we're an oral culture, so I need to make it simple as a Hawaiian. I studied for 17 years with my uncle Sam Lono. And many of us say in Hawaiian, because I'm going to talk about land, a specific piece of land. I would like someone to answer me how they own it and how they got to own it. And I asked the gentleman before me in the national park. When I studied the Temple of Luna, the seat of Luna recognized by Trump, Uncle wanted to teach us faith. I see a lot of Kamehameha schools here represented here, Maikai, Protestant Church. A lot of Kalaivanas, Catholic Church. But the Puhunuas are the spiritual land base of our culture, based in four gods, which I would like to share, because it has not been shared for almost 200 years. I will start with the first god in chronological order, Ku. He tu, a te te tai o tu. O ocean god, you give life, you take life. We invented surfing. We mapped the Pacific Ocean 5,000 years. We followed that God. We embraced it. Second God, he taniro, lau vili e te oho. O sun God, heat the ocean, lau vili, the raising of the clouds. Third God, Rono, where I studied and why I studied to be here today. He rono, he uluta mea ai o te pohe honua. You, the God of earth, must provide the staff of life for the world. You know, when I asked Uncle, what does that mean? Oh, brother, you got to put the stone in the water for the limo to grow. That's why it says, Uamau ika aina kapono. That's where it comes from. Now, how does he do that? How does he provide the staff of life for the world? The last God, Tani. He tani, tahi ta vai te tuahiwi. He ruri ita apo, a tu, a te tai, o tua. And in the first chant, the square, why all your temples are square, stands for the pa halau o te atua, the foundation of the gods, the foundation of your faith. the foundation of your faith. And then it goes to what? Those four elements create the square that creates Ha. The Ma'iola, the circle. Hawaii. And then the triangle, Anu Umealani. And that's what I've passed on tonight. The knowledge of the family, held in the family. I was born right here on Lyman Street, Keaukaha. So that's what I'm saying. Who owns the land on the temple? The outside circle? The national park? It is our spiritual land base. And also as half as a Jew. Did not this country give back the Jewish people the Jewish state, and then give back the spiritual land base of our people? It should not be national parks, and that's where you should be holding your meetings. Micah.
Thank you. I've got 10 minutes left, and I've got Alona, Nico, Lucky Marlin, West Mercado.
Aloha, my name is Alona Naomi Quatera. I am Hawaiian. I was born and raised in Kalihi on Oahu, and later upon my family, my father is actually from Kukui Haile, and my mother is actually from Puna. So I'm really thankful that I was able to find my identity. And what I've learned through the years is that I needed to do what I needed to do. I've got 2 great-grandchildren. I've got 14 grandchildren. I have 4 children. Then there's me. Now, I just want you to know this. Should anything like this happen again, I will definitely let my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren know that an injustice was done. So I stand here for them knowing that I know that my tutu signed a petition against annexation. I know our queen did not want this. So I stand here knowing all of this to let my grandchildren know that I am here today so that they know that should another injustice be done, that they can also come forward and say, my tutu was there to say no, 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 no to your questions. So
Lucky Marlin, West Mercado, and Richard, is it Tianio? Okay.
E ko Hawaii moku puni aloha kākou, e na elele o Kamahele loko o Amerika hui puia au e aloha no. O wau no o ki e sito o Keaukaha nei ku home hanau ku one hanau kalame. He Hawaii au. Ke whala mi. Ma hope wau o liliu o Kalani. O iai ola ke au puni Hawaii. O iai noho hewa o Amerika o ke au puni o Amerika. No laila he ole ka oko e no'ono'o nei. He ole. E no'ono'o na e oko I ka ha'alele. E ninau mai I 5 ninau no ka ho'oko I ke la. No na ninau a oko e ninau nei kia manawa. A kahi, a ole he hewa. A lua me a kolu. A ole he hewa. E ha me e 5. A ole he hewa.
I was born Cynthia Verscher in Nebraska, and I've been married here. I've been here 23 years. My last name is Marlin, and I've adopted my Hawaiian name that was given to me, Porkea Lahi Lahi Okavanahele. And I feel extremely humbled to be one of the last people with the opportunity to speak, but I'm doing this because I have a little bit of a different perspective, and I'm churning inside. I feel so much eha, so much heaviness, and I feel so sad about this mess, knowing that I'm a part of it because I am a U.S. citizen and I'm more on your side of the table. And I landed here in 1991 on a U.S. Navy ship. I was a lieutenant. That's how I arrived in Hawaii. We were being re-homeported in Pearl Harbor. And I'm not proud to have served in the U.S. military. I'm not proud to be an American. I've traveled all over the world. I was first introduced to the idea of the Hawaiian government. In 1999, I came to the World Indigenous Peoples Conference here in Hilo. I lived on Oahu at the time, and I learned about the reinstated Hawaiian government. I was very intrigued. It blew my mind. They were just holding elections. And this is something that other people can look at, because that is an entity that is reformulating a not native Hawaiian government, a government from the Hawaiian Kingdom. And in 2001, I applied to become a citizen in that nation, in the reinstated nation of Hawaii. I'm currently a citizen applicant, and I have not turned over my U.S. passport because I like to travel. But as soon as Hawaii is recognized as an independent sovereign nation, as it should be, I will gladly turn in my U.S. passport.
Thank you. And again, I apologize. I know you're not going to be satisfied, but the last two speakers is Wes Mercado and Richard Tiamio.
Hello, everybody. I represent all the Kanaka Maoles from all the islands. My genealogy comes from the keawe family. My mom, and what I get to say is, you guys did us guys wrong, and we need this apology to we're not native Hawaiians. We are the Kingdom of Hawaii. We are Keaukua's children. I'm born and raised in this island for 49 years, coming up October. I'm born and raised on the west side of Oahu, Nanakule'a. I've been here from 1983. And I love all these people inside here, plenty of these people. I get plenty mana'o for everybody on this island. And you guys need to go back up there to the government and tell them that we need our kingdom, because it was always promised to us from the beginning of time to now. And that's all I get. Allah.
So the last is going to be Richard.
Yeah, I'd like to mahalo all the presenters before me, giving me enough time to come up here and give my speech. Mahalo. Aloha mai to all punas, the makuas, the pios in the house, and to our guests. Aloha. My name is Mikeke Tianio. I'm a Kanaka Maoli. I'm also a cultural practitioner. I'm here on behalf of my ohana to share the same mana'o of our 21,000 kupunas who in 1897 said aole to the annexation. And I say here today, aole, 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 aole. It would be a dishonor to our Queen Iukalani and our kupuna to settle for anything less than full restoration of the government. The presumption of continuity places the burden on the United States to show under international law and not United States law that the Hawaiian Kingdom does not continue to exist. The Congressional Joint Resolution of Annexation is not evidence that the Hawaiian Kingdom ceases to exist as an independent state under international law, but rather is the evidence of the violation of international law and Hawaiian sovereignty. The Newlands Resolution is problematic on 2 points. First, as an act of Congress, The resolution has no effect beyond the United States borders. Second, the Republic of Hawaii was not a government, but self-declared, which was comprised of insurgents. The failure of President Cleveland to carry out the 1893 Agreement of Restoration, being an international treaty, is what allowed the insurgency to increase its unlawful power and control over the Hawaiian Islands. I am here today as part of that process of exercising sovereignty as it still exists within the framework of the unlawful, illegal, and prolonged occupation. The fact is, Hawaii is an occupied state. It's an extension of illegality that is considered Americanization. For the past 121 years, we were led to believe something that was untrue. We were still and still are, we were and are still an independent state under occupation. To think we can choose to be independent or a nation within a nation doesn't make any sense. We don't choose to become independent again because we are an independent state. That independent state is Hawaii Kingdom. Mahalo.
Mahalo. I want to thank the people of Keaukaha. There are numerous ways.
We're not finished yet. A trip to Hawaii and a 3-hour workday on taxpayers' money. We have more to say. There's a half a list, and I suggest you extend the time to hear what we have to say.
And I appreciate that. Unfortunately, to be fair to everyone in all of our 15 meetings, there were others, and we have to keep it to 3 hours. I am sorry. There are other ways for you to comment. You can put it in writing. We are going to be in Waimea tomorrow from 10 to 1, and Kealakahi in the evening. I do apologize. I know this isn't satisfying as you've all come a long way. But please submit your comments. The secretary will consider all the comments. Mahalo.